I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd walk away from his own flesh and blood. But when your son looks you dead in the eye and tells you that your life savings should be his because you're too old to enjoy it anyway, something inside you breaks. And that something, once broken, doesn't ever quite go back together the same way. It was a Tuesday morning in late October when my son Marcus called. The leaves outside my kitchen window in Mississauga were that perfect shade of amber and red that makes you forget, just for a moment, that winter's coming. I was standing at the counter, pouring my second cup of coffee, when my phone buzzed. "Hey, Dad, you got time to meet up today? There's something I need to talk to you about." Marcus was 38 years old. He had a decent job as a regional sales manager for some tech company, a nice condo in downtown Toronto, and a girlfriend named Stephanie, who I'd met exactly twice in the 2 years they'd been together. He didn't call often, maybe once every few weeks, usually when he needed something. But this time, there was an edge to his voice. Something urgent. "Sure, son. Tim Hortons on Dundas? Say around 11? Actually, Dad, can we do somewhere more private? Maybe that Italian place near your house, Sopranos?" My chest tightened a little. In my 63 years on this earth, I'd learned that when someone wants privacy for a conversation, it's rarely good news. "All right. 11:30 work for you? Perfect. See you there." I arrived at Sopranos 15 minutes early. It's a small, family-owned restaurant that's been around since the 80s. The kind of place where they know your order before you sit down. I took a corner booth and ordered a coffee. The waitress, Maria, had known me for 20 years. "Just you today, Robert?" she asked, her accent still thick with Italian inflections despite all her years in Canada. "Meeting my son, Marcus. Oh, wonderful. I haven't seen him in so long. Such a handsome boy." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Boy. Marcus hadn't been a boy in a long time. He walked in at 11:35, dressed in what I'd come to recognize as his business casual uniform. Dark jeans, a button-down shirt, leather jacket. His hair was styled with that product that made it look deliberately messy. He'd gotten that from his mother. Patricia had always fussed with her hair, even first thing in the morning. Patricia, gone 6 years now, breast cancer. The kind that moves fast and doesn't give you time to say all the things you should have said years ago. "Hey, Dad." Marcus slid into the booth across from me. No hug, barely any eye contact. "Marcus, good to see you, son." We ordered. He got the carbonara. I got my usual chicken parmigiana. We made small talk while we waited for the food. "How was work?" "Fine." "How was Stephanie?" "Good." "How was my arthritis?" "Acting up in the cold weather." Like always. The food came. We ate in relative silence for a few minutes. And then Marcus put down his fork, took a deep breath, and looked at me directly for the first time since he'd arrived. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something serious." Here it comes, I thought. "I'm listening." "Stephanie and we've been talking a lot about our future. We want to buy a house, get married, start a family. You know, do the whole adult thing properly." I nodded, waiting. "The thing is, the housing market in Toronto is insane right now. We've been looking, and anything decent starts at $800,000. Minimum. And that's for a place that needs work. It's tough out there," I agreed. "Your mother and we bought our first house in '87 for $90,000. 3 bedrooms, nice yard. Different times. Exactly. Different times. Which is why I wanted to talk to you about helping us out." I sipped my coffee. "What kind of help are you thinking?" Marcus leaned forward. "We need $200,000 for a down payment. We've got about 50 saved up, but we need more to avoid the mortgage insurance and keep our monthly payments manageable." $200,000. I felt my stomach twist. "That's a lot of money, Marcus." "I know, Dad. But here's the thing. You're sitting on this house that's got to be worth at least $700,000 now. Probably more. It's way too big for you. 4 bedrooms? You're using what, maybe 2? And you've got your pension, your CPP, your investments, Mom's life insurance." I set down my coffee cup slowly. "So what are you proposing?" "I'm saying you could take out a reverse mortgage. Or you could sell, move into a nice condo, something manageable, and give me my inheritance now, while I can actually use it." The words hung in the air between us like smoke. My inheritance. As if it was already his. As if I was just holding on to it temporarily until he was ready to claim it. "Your inheritance," I repeated slowly. "Yeah. I mean, let's be realistic here, Dad. What are you going to do with all that money? You're 63 years old. You don't travel. You don't have any expensive hobbies. You just sit in that big house by yourself watching hockey and doing crossword puzzles. Something cold settled in my chest. So because I'm not living a life you find exciting enough, I should liquidate my assets and hand them over to you? Marcus's face flushed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be practical. You're not going to live forever. And when you're gone, all of this just goes to me anyway, right? So what's the point of making me wait? Why should I struggle now while you're sitting on money you don't even need? Don't even need, I said quietly. Come on, Dad. You know what I mean. You've got more than enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. I'm talking about helping your son achieve something. Buy a home. Start a family. Isn't that what parents are supposed to want? To help their kids succeed? I thought about the 42 years I'd worked at the auto plant, the double shifts when Marcus was little because Patricia wanted to stay home with him, the community college fund we'd scraped together that he'd blown through in 2 years before dropping out, the car we'd bought him for graduation that he'd totaled within 6 months, the $5,000 I'd lent him 3 years ago to invest in a sure thing that I'd never seen again. I worked my whole life for what I have, Marcus. And I'm working too. I work hard, Dad. But the world's different now. You could buy a house on a single income. I'm making decent money, and I still can't afford anything. This system's rigged against my generation. So the solution is to take what I've earned? Marcus's jaw tightened. You're making this sound like I'm asking you for a handout. I'm your son, your only child. Mom would have wanted you to help me. And there it was. Bringing Patricia into it. The woman who'd worked part-time as a secretary for 20 years, saving every penny she could. Who'd refused to buy herself new clothes so we could put money away for emergencies. Who'd said to me 2 weeks before she died, "Make sure you're taken care of, Robert. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. Don't bring your mother into this." Why not? It's true. She would have wanted her grandson to grow up in a real house, not some cramped apartment. She would have wanted to see me settled and happy. Your mother would have wanted you to stand on your own 2 feet. Marcus's expression hardened. That's easy for you to say. You had it easy. You got to buy cheap, retire with a pension, live in the same house for 30 years. I don't have those luxuries. And frankly, Dad, you're being selfish. The word hit me like a slap. Selfish. Yeah, selfish. You're hoarding money you're never going to use while your son is struggling. Do you know what that says about you as a father? I stared at this man across from me, this stranger wearing my son's face, speaking with my son's voice, but saying words I didn't recognize, words that came from some dark, entitled place I didn't understand. I think this conversation is over, I said quietly. No, we're not done. I need an answer, Dad. Are you going to help me or not? No. The word came out firm, final. Marcus's face went red. No? Just like that? You're not even going to think about it? There's nothing to think about. What I have, I earned. It's mine. And I'll decide what to do with it when I'm good and ready. This is unbelievable. You're really going to do this? You're going to let me struggle while you sit on a pile of money like some kind of dragon? I stood up, pulled 2 20s from my wallet, and dropped them on the table. Lunch is covered. Drive safe, Marcus. Don't walk away from me. We're not done talking about this. But I was already moving toward the door. Behind me, I heard Marcus say something else, something bitter and angry. But I didn't catch the words. The ringing in my ears was too loud. I drove home in a daze. The autumn leaves that had looked so beautiful that morning now just looked dead, brittle, ready to fall. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus called 17 times. I let every call go to voicemail. The messages started out apologetic. Dad, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things. Can we talk? They progressed to frustrated. Come on, this is ridiculous. You're really going to ignore me over this? And finally, they turned mean. You know what? Fine. Be that way. I don't need you anyway. I never did. On November 15th, I got a text from Stephanie. I'd never gotten a text from her before. Robert, Marcus has been really upset. He loves you and just wants what's best for his future family. Can't you at least talk to him? He's your son. I stared at that message for a long time before I deleted it. Thanksgiving came. My phone didn't ring. Christmas approached. I put up the tree by myself for the first time in 6 years. Since Patricia died, Marcus had always helped me with the tree. Not this year. On December 20th, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Robert Henshaw? Speaking. This is Jennifer Chen from Morrison and Associates law firm. I'm calling on behalf of your son, Marcus Henshaw. My blood went cold. I see. Mr. Henshaw, my client has asked me to reach out regarding what he believes is his rightful inheritance. He's informed me that you've made verbal promises over the years about providing financial support, and he feels that you're now reneging on those promises. I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. Let me be very clear, Miss Chen. I have made no such promises. My son asked me for $200,000. I said no. That's the extent of it. My client believes that given his status as your sole heir and the size of your estate, there's an argument to be made for constructive trust. He's prepared to pursue this matter legally, if necessary. Then let him pursue it. He'll lose. Mr. Henshaw, litigation is expensive and time-consuming for everyone involved. Perhaps we could arrange a mediation? Tell your client that I'm 63 years old. I worked for 42 years to build what I have, and I don't owe him or anyone else an explanation for how I choose to spend my money. Tell him that if he wants to hire lawyers to try to shake me down, he can knock himself out, and tell him that I'm proud of the man I thought I raised, but I don't recognize the person he's become. I hung up before she could respond. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house creak and settle around me. This house that Marcus had grown up in, where Patricia and I had brought him home from the hospital, where we'd celebrated his birthdays, his graduations, his triumphs and failures. I got up at 2 a.m, went downstairs, and pulled out the old photo albums. There was Marcus at 6, missing his 2 front teeth, holding up a string of fish we'd caught at Lake Simcoe. Marcus at 12, in his hockey uniform, Patricia's arm around his shoulders. Marcus at 18, graduation day, so full of promise and possibility. Where had it gone wrong? Had I been too soft? Too hard? Had I given him too much? Or not enough? Or was this just who he'd always been, and I'd been too blind to see it? On January 8th, I met with my lawyer, Donald Mackenzie. Don had handled my real estate purchases, Patricia's will, and all my estate planning for the past 20 years. Robert, good to see you. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair, though I wish the circumstances were better. I got a letter from Morrison and Associates. What do they want? They're making noise about elder financial abuse, suggesting that if you're competent and in good health, there's no reason not to help your son financially. They're implying that if you won't, it might be because you're not of sound mind. I felt heat rise in my face. They're questioning my mental competence? It's a tactic, Robert. A nasty one, but not uncommon in these cases. They want to rattle you, make you feel like you have to prove something. What do I need to do? Nothing. You don't need to prove anything. You're under no legal obligation to give your son money. But I do think we should review your estate plan. Make sure everything is ironclad. We spent 2 hours going through my will, my power of attorney, my living will. When we were done, I'd made some significant changes. Are you sure about this? Don asked quietly. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The months crawled by. Winter gave way to spring. The lawyer letters stopped, probably because Marcus realized he didn't have a case and couldn't afford to keep paying legal fees. In April, I got a phone call from Marcus's girlfriend, Stephanie, except now she was his ex-girlfriend. Mr. Henshaw, this is Stephanie. I don't know if you remember me. I remember. I just wanted you to know that Marcus and I broke up about a month ago. I didn't say anything. I thought you should know why. It's because I found out what he did, how he talked to you, what he asked for. How did you find out? He told me. He was proud of it. He said he'd finally called his old man out and stood up for himself. He showed me the lawyer letter like it was some kind of trophy. She was quiet for a moment. I told him he was disgusting, that you don't treat family that way, that his father worked his whole life and didn't owe him a damn thing. And you know what he said? He said I didn't understand, that it was his money, really, and you were just being stubborn and old-fashioned. I'm sorry things didn't work out for you two. I'm not. I dodged a bullet, Mr. Henshaw. I just wanted you to know that not everyone thinks what he did was okay, and I wanted to say I'm sorry. For the text I sent you, he made me do it. He stood over me and told me what to write. I should have refused. After she hung up, I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. On June 3rd, my brother called. Alan lived in Calgary, and we talked maybe once every couple of months. Rob, I ran into someone who knows Marcus at a conference. Said he's been posting some pretty nasty stuff about you on Facebook. I don't have Facebook. I know, but I do. Rob, he's telling people you're mentally ill, that you're becoming paranoid and irrational in your old age. He's setting up a narrative. Let him. Rob, this is serious. He's doing damage control, making himself look like the victim. Alan, I appreciate you looking out for me, but there's nothing I can do about what he says online. The people who matter know the truth. But it bothered me more than I wanted to admit. The idea that my son was out there, telling lies about me, making me out to be some kind of villain in his story. In September, almost a year after that lunch at Sopranos, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Early stage, treatable. The doctor said I had an excellent prognosis with surgery and radiation. I didn't tell Marcus. He didn't know. We hadn't spoken in 11 months. I did tell Alan. He flew out to be with me for the surgery, stayed for a week afterward to help me around the house. Have you thought about reaching out to him? Alan asked one night over takeout Chinese food. Maybe this would be a chance to rebuild things. No, he's your son, Rob. He stopped being my son when he looked at me as nothing but a wallet with a heartbeat. Alan didn't push it. The surgery went well. The recovery was harder than I expected. I was weak for weeks, lost 20 pounds. Spent a lot of time thinking about Patricia, about mortality, about legacy. In November, I updated my will again. On December 8th, I got a Christmas card in the mail. From Marcus. It was one of those generic ones from Shoppers Drug Mart, with a snowy landscape and season's greetings in gold foil letters. Inside, he'd written, Dad, I know we haven't talked in a while. I think maybe we both said things we didn't mean. I'd like to move past this. Life's too short to stay angry. Let's get together for Christmas dinner. I'll cook. Call me. I read it 3 times, looking for an apology, for acknowledgement of what he'd done, for any sign that he understood why I'd walked away. It wasn't there. What was there was the word inheritance, penciled lightly in the corner of the envelope. So light you'd miss it if you weren't looking for it. Like he was filing this card away for future reference. Evidence of attempted reconciliation. I threw the card in the recycling bin. Christmas came and went. I spent it with Alan and his family. Flew out to Calgary for 5 days. It was good. Loud and chaotic with Alan's 3 kids, but good. In February, almost a year and a half after our last conversation, I got a phone call from Toronto General Hospital. Mr. Henshaw? This is calling about your son, Marcus Henshaw. He's been in an accident. My heart stopped. Is he alive? Yes. He's stable, but he's asking for you. He's in ICU, room 312. I drove to Toronto in a fog. Car accident, they said. T-boned by a drunk driver. Broken ribs, collapsed lung, fractured pelvis. Lucky to be alive. I found his room. Stood outside for 5 minutes before I could make myself go in. He looked small in that hospital bed. Tubes and wires everywhere. His face was bruised, swollen. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Relief? Fear? I couldn't tell. Dad. Dad? His voice was weak, scratchy. Marcus. You came. They said you were hurt. We stared at each other. 18 months of silence sitting between us like a third person in the room. I'm sorry, he whispered. Finally, I heard those words. Sorry for what? For the accident. For bothering you. Not for what he'd done. Not for how he'd treated me. Just sorry for the inconvenience of his current situation. I see. Dad, I need to ask you something. Of course he did. I'm going to be off work for months. Maybe 6 months. The other driver didn't have insurance. Mine is going to cover some of it, but not all. I'm going to need help with my mortgage payments. With my bills. I stood there, looking at my son, my only child. The baby I'd walked the floors with at 3 in the morning. The boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to change a tire. The young man I'd been so proud of when he landed his first real job. And I felt nothing. No. Marcus's eyes widened. What? No. I won't be helping you. Dad, I'm in a hospital bed. I almost died. You're really going to do this now? I'm sorry this happened to you, Marcus. I truly am. But you made your position very clear 18 months ago. I'm just a wallet to you, an inheritance waiting to happen. You're not interested in having a father. You're interested in having an ATM. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you called me just to see how I was doing? Before you needed money, I mean. When was the last time you asked about my life? He didn't answer. I had cancer, Marcus, last fall. Prostate cancer. Had surgery. Radiation. And you didn't know because you didn't care enough to check in. The color drained from his face. Dad, I'm 65 years old. I don't know how many years I have left. Maybe 20, maybe 10, maybe 2, but however many there are, I'm going to spend them with people who value me for more than my bank account. I turned toward the door. If you walk out now, that's it. You know that, right? You walk out and we're done. Forever. I paused. Looked back at him. We've been done for a long time, son. I'm just the last one to accept it. I walked out of Toronto General Hospital and drove back to Mississauga. When I got home, I called Donald Mackenzie. Don, I need to make a final change to my will. We met the next day. When we were finished, my estate was divided among 3 charities: the Canadian Cancer Society, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, and Habitat for Humanity. Marcus would receive exactly $1 and a letter. You're absolutely certain? Don asked. I've never been more certain of anything. That was 8 months ago. Today, I'm sitting in my house. The same house I bought with Patricia 37 years ago. The leaves are turning again. Another autumn. Another cycle. I don't regret my decision. I know some people think I'm cruel, that blood should be thicker than money, that I should forgive and forget. But here's what I've learned in 65 years on this earth. Respect isn't something you're owed just because you share DNA with someone. Love isn't unconditional when it comes with a price tag. And family is about more than biology. It's about showing up, about caring, about seeing someone as a person, not a resource. Marcus never saw me as a person. He saw me as an obstacle between him and what he felt entitled to. And the moment I stopped being useful to him, I stopped existing. So I've built a new family. My brother Alan, my neighbors who check in on me, the guys from my old plant who still meet up for breakfast every Thursday, Maria at Sopranos who saves me my usual table. These are my people now. As for Marcus, I hope he gets his life together. I hope he learns that money you earn yourself means more than money you inherit. I hope he finds someone who loves him enough to tell him when he's wrong. I hope he becomes the kind of person his mother and I tried to raise him to be. But I won't be around to see it, because I've spent enough of my life being treated like a bank vault with a pulse. I've wasted enough time hoping for something from someone who has nothing to give. Sometimes, walking away is the most loving thing you can do, not because it hurts less, but because staying would destroy what's left of your self-respect. And at the end of the day, that's all any of us really have. Our dignity, our integrity, our sense of who we are and what we stand for. I stand for the belief that I matter, that my years of work matter, that my feelings and my needs matter just as much as anyone else's. And I will not apologize for that. Not to Marcus. Not to anyone who thinks I should have just handed over my life savings to keep the peace. Because peace bought with your self-respect isn't peace at all. It's surrender. And I didn't work for 42 years to surrender in the end.